Oops, we are at benefits planning with our presenter, Ronald Deese. And Ronald is with the UH Center on Disability Studies and the WIPA program, or WIPA. I'm not sure, you have to tell me, Ronald, which way to say that. That's the Work Incentive Planning and Assistance Program. And he's going to talk about benefits planning with Social Security and how to save money with an ABLE account. So Ronald, you're up, my friend.
Thanks, Amanda. Okay, I'm gonna share my slides. Okay, thanks for the invite. So a couple people mentioned benefits planning already as one of the things that can help out with this employment process. And I'm gonna get a little bit more into that. My name is Ronald Deese, and I'm from WIPA, Work Incentive Planning and Assistance, which is a project that can help provide benefits planning. So, talk about three things. What are these Social Security disability benefits? A lot of people have not looked into this yet, and to let you know what's out there. Then, specifically, what you can do when you have SSI and you want to get a job. What are those? An introduction to those rules and how that's navigated, and then where you can access benefits planning to get into the real details and the nitty gritty of it. So there's probably going to be a lot of questions, so feel free to drop those in the chat. So first of all, what are the disability programs Social Security Administration offers? I'm going to go over three: Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, Social Security Disability Insurance, SSDI, and Childhood Disability Benefits, CDB. So, for starters, when you imagine the Social Security Administration, they manage a lot of different things in their portfolio. They're taking some money to put away for your retirement benefits, but they also manage these disability programs, and they all have their own different separate rules. So if you imagine a little line down the middle of the Social Security office, on the left side here is the folks that do supplemental security income, and Medicaid benefits usually flow from that. On the right side are the folks that do Social Security disability insurance, and Medicare health insurance would usually come from that. So these two sides do not cross. They have their own rules. And generally, for younger people, you're dealing with SSI, and I'll explain why. And just as a note, under this umbrella of programs where Social Security disability insurance is located, that is closely related to other things such as retirement benefits and childhood disability benefits. So these programs exist to provide income assistance for folks that are disabled, and they can do different amounts. The SSI program can provide a maximum of $967 a month to someone that qualifies. Social Security disability insurance, it varies based on the person's past work history before becoming disabled. Everyone gets a different amount. And for childhood disability benefits, those actually come from a parent's Social Security account. So everyone's getting a different amount based on a percentage of their parents' work history. So who is disabled according to Social Security? I'm going to give you the really quick version. It involves having a qualifying physical or mental impairment. So one that's on their list of impairments or of equal severity. But it's also very closely tied in with employment. They have this concept called substantial gainful activity, and if you are making more than this amount at the time you apply, you're not disabled. So the amounts are: if you are not blind, if you are making more than 1,620 a month, you're not disabled. If you are blind, according to their rules than if you're making over 2,700 a month, you're not disabled. So everyone has their own definition of disability. Social Security looks really closely at employment, employability, work activity. So a little more on each of these different disability programs. For SSI, what is required is someone has to have the disability, but also very limited income and limited assets. This is a program based on financial need in addition to having a disability. If someone is under 18 and they apply, then their parental income is going to be counted through a formula. A portion of it's going to be counted. If they're over 18, they can apply on their own as an adult. And this applies even if they live with a parent. So that's why a lot of people, when you talk to them about SSI, they apply it at age 18 when they could do it as an adult. For the SSDI program, that's what they would call Social Security. That's what you pay into with your Social Security taxes. So to qualify for that, you must have enough work history before you become disabled to accumulate work credits. And then when you have enough work credits, if you become unable to work, the insurance activates and it replaces some of your income. So the number of credits needed is based on age. A younger person needs fewer credits to qualify for SSDI. Maybe as little as working 2 years, you might be able to qualify. For an older person, they would tend to need more credits. So there's a link in these slides with a chart of how many credits are needed at different ages. There's also another benefit that comes up a lot eventually for everyone that's disabled from a young age. They might qualify for a benefit called CDB, which stands for Childhood Disability Benefits. And this is something that applies even if someone never worked, even if they're young, because it's based on a parent's Social Security earnings. So for someone that becomes disabled before 22 years old, they can be permanently connected to their parent's Social Security account. What matters is when their disability started, not how old they are now. So if they're disabled before 22 years old and then their parent files a Social Security claim, the parent is either retiring or becomes disabled, or even if the parent should pass away and had worked long enough to qualify, then the child can receive benefits based on a parent's claim. So there are some extra funds attached to every Social Security claim that can support like a child that's disabled or a minor child. And this is the type of benefit you get when you tap into that. So this will eventually happen for everyone because eventually everyone's parent will retire one day. Okay, so if you're interested in any of these benefits, a great place to get started is to make an account on the Social Security website, which is found at this address, ssa.gov/myaccount. That you can also, even if you're not into websites, you can contact Social Security Administration by the phone. Their normal number is 1-800-772-1213, and then I have the numbers for each field office on the slide as well. So if you're interested in applying, a great way to get started is to make an account on the website and you can file an application there. But if you want to apply and cannot do that, you can reach out to them by phone and set up an appointment for a phone application. Okay, so that's some of the basics. Um, oh, I see the questions coming in already. I'll get to those. But let's talk a little bit about employment. So where I come in is I help people navigate how the benefits might change with employment. And Social Security does encourage employment. They have a lot of rules within each program to uh, help people that are employed keep more of their benefits or health insurance. And I'm going to talk specifically about the SSI program because that's what most younger people are using. So I like to give this example that came from the Social Security Ticket to Work program. Someone in Maryland shared their own success story. A young woman named Amy who had SSI, and she started out working as a grocery bagger and then got a job coach from Full Circle Employment Solutions and worked at the as a administrative aide at the Montgomery County office in Maryland. And when this store, as of 2017, she had been working there 4 years successfully and had worked her way up while receiving help to figure out what that means for her SSI the whole time. So I have a little link here if you want to hear the whole story. But there are plenty of rules that she used to help her, and these are called work incentives by Social Security. These are the rules within SSI that help you keep more of your benefits while working, that make sure it always pays to work. And I'll show you how one of them happens. So, when you go to work with SSI, they have a certain formula. They'll take whatever your pay is and they won't count all of that against you. They'll ignore the first $20 you earn, the next $65 you earn, and then they'll divide it in half. After they take out all these deductions, all these steps, whatever's left at the end is called the countable income, and that will be subtracted from the normal SSI payment. So they will count less than half of what you earn when they readjust the SSI payment. So you'll always end up with more money whether you work a little or work a lot. I'll show you an example. So let's say you get a job, like a student job or something. You're making $555 a month at a part-time job. They'll go through those steps I mentioned. The SSI payment will be readjusted. So if you're receiving these are old numbers, but the principle still applies. So let's say your SSI started at $943 a month, and you get a $555 paycheck. That SSI will be adjusted to $708 a month. This all happens automatically for everyone. The overall money you make, though, is always going to be more. The pay plus the SSI is now $1,263 a month. So overall, you always end up with more money, whether you work a little or you work a lot. This formula will apply. Okay, so there's many other work incentives out there which I talk to people about, but the one I wanted to talk about today is how you're going to save money. So let's say you have a lot more money than you used to have because of this job, but the thing to be aware of that everyone learns is the SSI program has an asset limit. Any individual can only have $2,000 saved at any time. If they have more than that, then they stop being eligible for any SSI at all. And what I mean by assets, some common examples are like your cash, your money in your bank accounts, your checking or savings accounts, even things like stocks or mutual funds or savings bonds are counted as an asset by SSI because the way these rules were written, SSI is for people with very limited means, very limited money. But eventually new strategies were created for people that want to save their money, because $2,000 was a lot in the 1980s when this was started, but it's definitely not as much now. That's getting to the point where you can't even save up for a month's rent if you wanted to go live on your own somewhere. So if you're earning more money and you want to think about saving more money, you want to look into something called an ABLE account. ABLE, ABLE account. So when you have money from a job, consider putting it in there. And the short version of this is ABLE account funds do not count toward that asset limit for SSI. So you can deposit up to $19,000 a year in an ABLE account right now. And for SSI, you can accumulate a total of up to $100,000. Up to $100,000 they will not count as savings. So that's a lot better than $2,000. You can really start to have goals and plans with that. So if you're interested in an ABLE account, here's another resource you can keep in your back pocket. Check out our ABLE program in Hawaii, Hawaii ABLE Savings Program. They're available online. You learn about them through their website. You can sign up through an account online, and that's available at www.hawaiiablesavings.com. Okay, last thing, I want to talk about benefits planning. You may have heard that. You may have found some of it confusing, but there's definitely help out there. You don't have to figure all this out on your own. Benefits planning is a process where you meet with a benefits counselor. That would be someone like me before you start working or when you start working, so that you understand what's about to happen and you can plan out all the steps you need to take uh, to to make sure you're going to end up with more money and know what you need to do. So a benefits planner doesn't tell you to take this job or to not take this job or what kind of job you need. A benefits planner gives you information. So before you even get into having your first paycheck, you can make an informed decision about how that will affect SSI or other benefits. You know exactly what's about to happen, and you're making an informed decision. Uh, there's a program available through the UH Center on Disability Studies called Work Incentive Planning and Assistance, WIPA, WIPA. And some of the services available there are general information and referral, answering some basic questions, individualized benefits planning, where I would gather someone's documents and information and meet with them individually as many times as needed to help them understand, and providing a written benefit summary and analysis, telling you in a written form exactly what you need to know about your benefits and how they'll be affected by the job you're considering. To be eligible for this benefits counseling, you need to have one of the Social Security disability benefits, such as SSDI or SSI, and you're already working or pursuing work in some way. So you may be applying for jobs, you may be going through a job training and coming to the end of it, and you need more information about what's going to happen next. So if you're interested in accessing these WIPA services, you can reach us at the UH Center on Disability Studies by phone or email. Available at 808-956-9353, or feel free to just email me directly. My email address is here, rdeese@hawaii.edu, and check out our website as well. Okay. So I tried to leave a good amount of time for questions here. I will open up my chat box.
Thank you, Ronald. Yes, we have some good questions in there. Do you want me to read them out or do you want to just go look for them?
Uh, if you see something, you can read it out. Yeah, there's discussion on the waiver here. Let's see. Looks.
So a parent said, are there any benefits for individuals aside from the money who qualify for SSI but receive more money from a parent who receives Social Security benefits, and the SSI cash benefit will be washed out by the higher parent benefit? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so they're kind of if there's different ways you can get a benefit through Social Security, SSI or one of the other programs such as benefits from the parent. So if that happens, if there's choices, you think of SSI as the last benefit that gets paid, the last resort. Because if you think about something like benefits from the parent, that's parent already paid in their Social Security taxes to that. They prefer to use those money, and then they will just pay that instead. Now, if the benefit from the parent is lower than what someone could get from SSI, someone could get a combination of both. They'll get benefits from the parent and enough SSI to boost them up to whatever the minimum amount they're eligible for is. Uh, okay, I hope that helped. Uh, can a student who also receives SSDI also receive SSDI when a parent who has been working retires or dies? Okay, so when a parent retires or passes away, um, then that student might potentially receive the benefit was called CDB, Childhood Disability Benefits, which was mentioned a little earlier. But the requirement for getting that particular benefit is they have to have a disability that started before age 22. So that is proven either by, they were having a different benefit before age 22, like SSI. So they established the disability that way. Or maybe there's medical records or evidence going back to them. And if that's happening, they can receive benefit through the parent's account when the parent retires or dies. Okay. Let's see.
Actually, I have a question real quick, Ronald. Can you help me understand the difference between SSI and SSDI?
Okay. So actually, let me pull up the visual here real quick. So comparing SSI and SSDI. So SSI is a program based on disability and financial needs. SSDI is a program based on disability and having work history, having work credits. So SSI is the one that's, you tends to be a lower payment where you have to prove you have like no savings, very little income. SSDI, you have to prove you had paid enough into Social Security and gotten enough work credits before filing for disability. So there's big differences between these. And then I was talking about a third one closely related to SSDI called CDB, which is paid based on a parent having enough work history to be Social Security qualified. So these are like three major common types of disability that uh, you might look into.
Thank
Uh,
you. That's helpful
yeah,
because sometimes it feels like they're interchangeable. Like
yeah,
they're
and
definitely
they made that acronym so similar. They did you see right under those acronyms with one letter difference, there's Medicaid and Medicare. They just changed one letter, and like, and it's not that easy to remember. Okay.
We had another question from a parent that asked, how about other programs in the community? Do they require SSI eligibility?
Um, trying to think. There's not many that require SSI eligibility but sometimes it can make it easier because that proves your disability has already been validated. So for instance, when you apply for Medicaid, it's kind of shown on the bottom left of this slide that it's closely connected to SSI. You can apply if you don't have SSI, but you need to prove your disability to the Medicaid office. But if you apply while you have SSI, it's a lot easier because the disability has already been proven. So you get to kind of skip a step. And the ABLE account, I didn't go into too much detail, but it also makes it easier to get an ABLE account if you already got SSI, because that's one way to prove you're disabled. Okay.
And somebody was asking, what is DWB that you have here on the slide in the green section there?
Oh my, yeah, I did not answer that. That's something called disabled widows benefits, which is another type of disability benefit, less common. So it's for folks that are I'm going off the top of my head since there's no slide, but you're over 50 and you're disabled and you're trying to get benefits on your spouse's account. Your spouse that's either retired or disabled or passed away, kind of thing. I mean, passed away, widow's benefits. Sorry.
Widow, okay.
Yeah.
So for an older person.
Yeah, so it's for an older person. Not so much for my audience here today. I don't think it'll come up.
Right.
Uh,
Okay. Someone else asks, so can we apply to SSA, Social Security, for SSDI, even if he has SSI but not working and one parent just retired?
if a parent retired, if a parent's retiring, then when the parent files their claim, you should mention, bring it to their attention that you have a child receiving SSI. And they will check if the child can get any benefits, additional benefits through the parent's claim. And that's called the CDB benefits. So mention it when applying for the parent's retirement, or if it got missed or something, just bring it up to them to Social Security now at any time, and they can check. Okay, here's a really good question from Susan. Some parents are told to look into disabled adult child benefits. What are the restrictions? What are the assets they can have? Okay, so disabled adult child benefits, DAC, is an older word for these CDB benefits, childhood disability benefits. It is the same program. Social Security just changed the name for it at some point, and you might even hear their staff using the older name. And for this program, there are no asset requirements. SSI program has asset requirements, limits. This program does not. So I didn't mention any asset requirements here. It's because there are none. So, let's see, one more question. So can we? Does special needs trust hurt SSI or CDB opportunities? So, in general, when it comes to a special needs trust, those are written to preserve eligibility for SSI. So the money in that trust has a lot of restrictions about how it can be used, and part of that is so that child can still apply for SSI or Medicaid. So it should be no problems there. And does it affect the other benefits? Well, actually, those other benefits, SSDI and CDB, do not have asset requirements. So no worries there. Okay, so I think that might be all the questions here.
Yeah, you did great, Ronald. I think you got the
So,
questions and I've copied them from the chat, so I'll send them over to you and you can fluff them out a little bit better. And then we'll get that posted on the website for the Q&A. Okay?
okay, and come reach out to my office if there are if you're really getting into the employment and need specific individual counseling. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks so much, Ronald. We appreciate you and your experience today. And so if anybody does have questions, you can reach out at Ronald at the WIPA office. I popped their website in the chat and also the brochure for WIPA in the chat. Is it WIPA or WIPA?
I'd say WIPA, Work Incentive Planning and Assistance is what it stands for.
All right. Thank you so much, Ronald.